Good evening, everyone. For those of you perhaps waiting to watch this in live, sorry for the delay. We're working on some budget issues this evening. So it's now 7:20 p.m. on Monday, June 12th, 2023. I'd like to call to order the City of Laconia City Council meeting. Before we go any further, though, I'd like to welcome you all for a salute of the flag. I'm asking Wes Anderson here. Would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our recording secretary this evening is Katie Gargano, and I'd ask her to please call the roll.
Counselor Cheney,
Here.
Counselor Susie,
Here.
Counselor Littman,
Here.
Counselor Haynes,
Here.
Counselor Felch,
Here.
Mayor Hosmer.
We have gone consistently around the table, I think 3 meetings in a row, with everyone saying either here or present. It's been unanimous. I'm here, okay? There's always somebody.
It says present.
It's out of respect for one of our former counselors who took,
David.
We're joined this evening by City Manager Kirk Biotti. Finance Director Glenn Smith is here as well. I'm going to jump over 6 at this point in time and move directly to number 7, which is acceptance of minutes from the previous meetings. Minutes of the regular meeting minutes of May 22nd of Laconia City Council were distributed to the members of the City Council on May 30th, 2023, with no changes or corrections submitted to the clerk. The minutes will be accepted as distributed. Item 7B. This is the City Council budget meeting minutes of May 8th, 2023, which were distributed to the members of the City Council on May 30th, with no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk. The minutes will be accepted as distributed. Item number 7C, City Council budget meeting minutes of May 15th. These minutes were distributed to the members of the City Council on May 30th, 2023, with no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk. The minutes will be accepted as distributed. And finally, minutes for the City Council budget meeting of May 22nd, 2023. These were also distributed to the City Council on May 30th, 2023. It looks like we may have a correction or a change. I see you raise your hand, Councilor Littman?
I was bumping into the mic and excusing myself.
Oh, okay. With no corrections or changes submitted to the clerk, the minutes will be accepted as distributed. Consent and action items, there are none. Moving on to agenda item 9, citizens' comments for matters not on the agenda. If there's something anyone in the public would like to speak to that is not on tonight's agenda, now would be the appropriate time. Seeing none, I'll move along to agenda item number 13A, which is the public hearing for resolution 2023-13 relative to acceptance of an award in the amount of $30,683.28 from the Department of Homeland Security Grant Program for the purchase of body armor. Notice of this public hearing was made available in the May 25th, 2023 Laconia Daily Sun, posted at Laconia City Hall, Laconia Community Center, Laconia Public Library, and the offices of the SAU. Action on this item may be taken up under unfinished business this evening. I'd like to open the public hearing at 7:27 p.m. And if anyone in the public would like to speak to this matter, now would be the appropriate time. Any chance of getting the clock here fixed? Just throwing it out. It's 2 minutes ahead. I just realized.
Needs a new battery, probably.
I'd like to close the public hearing at 7:28 p.m. Moving on to item number 15, which is the mayor's report. Just a handful of items that I want to go over. First and foremost, right now, we are celebrating the 100th anniversary of Laconia Motorcycle Week. Those of you who have been down and about the city, it seems to be very well attended this year, probably better attended the first weekend than I can remember. So I would say I was down on Lakeside Avenue for quite some time over the weekend, and it was a nice showing of our fire department, our police department, and our DPW. Things seem to be moving quite smoothly, and people are enjoying themselves. The press conference for the kickoff of the week was last Thursday, and Kirk and I were very honored to represent the city and receive the Fritzie Bear Award on behalf of the city of Laconia. So that's why I bring the cup. Very nice, yeah. You don't give these out to just anybody, you know. So congratulations to the city as a whole, being a recipient of this, and thank you to Charlie St. Clair and Jennifer Anderson.
Shouldn't there be 6 or 7 of those?
Put a request in.
No.
You get your own mini, okay? We take a mini? A mini, we get you a bobblehead, too. Get you a bobblehead of Charlie.
Don't.
How's that? With a
He'll
tie.
do it, so please,
I know he
don't
will.
bring it up.
Make sure it's got a long ponytail.
Oh, gosh.
That's a good pull on it.
Also, on Friday evening was the Laconia High School graduation, which was always a great event, and the weather was terrible leading up to it, and it broke in late afternoon and stayed dry, and a little bit of sunshine throughout the evening and throughout all the ceremonies, which was great. And just attending those graduations, I always feel a great sense of pride in the city of Laconia for our kids, our graduates, their parents, their guardians, and also a great sense of appreciation to their teachers, our administrators, guardians. You know, it's particularly this class, they started school in 2019. The fall of 2019 had, like the rest of us, had no idea what was going to hit them. Yet, they're truly a resilient bunch of kids and now graduates moving on to some great institutions, as well as some great career choices as well. So it's just a real pleasure to be among all those folks, and I think we have a lot to be proud of here in the city once again with these graduates. And I know Councilor Lippman had mentioned, and I agree with him, there was an awful lot of positive energy to be soaked up from these graduates and their families. I just want to commend our schools and our graduates and parents and guardians. Finally, right now, I want to go back to the, not go back to, it came up earlier in the budget discussion. I saw the line for the Colonial Theater. And we're going to, had a very productive meeting, I thought, with Kirk and Pete Lally last week, I guess it was. We chatted about the theater and what's going on, and what the future looks like, and it was very positive. There's certainly plenty of opportunities to take a very good theater and make it excellent. But one of the things that we have not established yet, and we're going to establish now before the end of the year, which is an advisory council associated with the theater. I think it's made up of 5 members. And so those are, I would suggest, if someone has a desire to be part of this advisory council, that they reach out to the city manager via email or phone to his office, and let us know, as we'd like to make a decision. I'd like to make a decision in the next, by the end of the summer, and put this group together. Certainly looking for a diverse group of people. It is purely advisory. I don't think there's any heavy lifting associated with it. probably meeting maybe 3 times a year. And it's a great opportunity to sort of get involved in the community and something that's going particularly well. So that's, I will conclude my mayor's report with that, and I'll look to the council for council comments right now. Looking left, I'm focusing left.
I've got a few,
You do?
yes.
All right.
First of all, I know it's probably not a pleasant subject, but Gale Avenue, I got the city manager's email this afternoon. I think if we have to revisit short-term rentals, we need to. To me, once you've, in my world, once you've made an application and you've been denied by the Board of Adjustment, it should be cease and desist, period. That should be the end of it. And there's no, and I think, you know, I don't want to be long-winded, but to bypass it and say, now I can only rent it 15 days and out. Who keeps track of the 15 days? I mean, I can't, you get them and I get them because it's in my ward. Countless emails every time, and I'm really tired of it. And, you know, when we mention it and when we talk to constituents, well, the legal's looking into it. You know, they're tired of listening to the legals looking into it. And I think if we need to get some teeth in this thing, we need to get teeth in it and get on board with it. I've really had enough of it, but whatever.
Let me interject. I've had some meetings with the manager. He has a proposal to amend that ordinance that deals with short-term rentals. I was gonna ask at some point tonight that we move that to the Governmental Operations Committee to review and get it done. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think I speak for the manager. No, I won't speak for the manager. I think he understands the significance of this. And, you know, go up and 2111 or whatever the hell it is on Main Street.
North Main Street.
There's about 15 or 20 motorcycles in there. They've been denied a permit. And we don't, because we haven't properly, well, that's not fair. In past years, the need didn't appear to be there. It's there now, and so I'd like the mayor to instruct the Governmental Operations Committee to review it and bring an amendment to this council sooner rather than later.
I appreciate that, Councilor Cheney.
Consider that done.
I'm sorry?
You asked the mayor to,
Yes.
yes, I would consider I've made the request, yes.
Thank you.
And it's been received, and I'll schedule something, I'll talk to Nancy
Quickly.
tomorrow.
Yep.
Mayor, I got a couple of
She's out
other
this week. I know.
pleasant things.
Go right ahead.
The entrance signs to the city, I've seen 3 of them. They look excellent, nice job. And I'd like to thank you and Wes for taking your time to look at the situation on Court Street as far as crosswalk. It's not gonna be an easy thing, and I think that's, until we do phase, is it 3 that goes all the way to St. Francis?
Yeah, I think, yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we're
Until we
classifying
do
it.
that, the crosswalk, I think, is in limbo, but whatever you can come up with, that's fine. Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome. Counselor Felch.
Yes, just want to bring up the 4th of July parade, which is actually Independence Day Parade on July 2nd at 4:30. Looking for participants, especially some bands, if anybody knows bands that's interested in being in it. And any group whatsoever, please reach out to me. We want to make this a good one.
Thank you, Counselor Felch. Counselor Cheney.
Thank you, Mayor. I did want to bring up the short-term leasing, which we've already done, and a little later in the meeting, there's an item I asked the manager to put on with regards to our flag policy. So I'll wait till that portion of the meeting to rant and rave.
Thank you.
The last thing I'd like to do is ask the manager and the city engineer to take a look at Lake Nav and see if we can do something about patching and culverts and ditches that need to be cleaned out. I would appreciate that.
North or
Uh,
all of it?
Yes, north.
North.
I don't think we maintain south, do we? No, we don't maintain south.
Counselor Cheney, I've had a couple of people reach out to me just within the past few days about the north end of Old North Main Street. Is that your ward?
It is.
Complaining about the condition of that and its deterioration.
It is very, you know, uneven. It could use paving, but
It's not going to get paved?
No, it's junk soil underneath it, so all the
Are we gonna
pavement's
close
gotta
the-
do
Are we
is
gonna
just,
close the road, or I don't understand
we're gonna have
junk
to
soil.
rebuild it.
And when would
Uh,
it be scheduled for?
Basically, it would be when we have money available. The last couple of years, I've been instructed to focus on paving and not to do that much in the way of reconstruction. I can more than likely turn it back on to do reconstruction if it's so desired.
it is in sad need, it really is. And there are others, I know, but
It's a toothpaste tube type soil underneath it.
used to be a state road. That's part of what's wrong, is the state didn't build it well. But it does need desperately.
So is this on a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, or are we
It's one
just
we've been
ignoring
looking
it?
at doing, and we just haven't been able to.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's one we've been looking at doing, we just haven't been able to generate the money to do it without impacting the paving program.
What's the anticipated cost of that road? Any sense?
Couple $100,000 minimum. We haven't done enough to determine what we're gonna have to do to subgrade.
Could we at least look at that?
Yeah, we
and-
can.
And get back to us, and then we can,
Yeah, is there a temporary fix?
yeah.
Right.
I mean, we could pave it, but I wouldn't expect it to last more than a year or two. Because it's just, there's not enough support there to support the pavement.
There's no sense throwing good money after bad.
Right.
Let's,
Yeah.
if you could, if I may, Mayor,
Please do.
if you could give us some idea, or
Right.
make a few holes to see what you've got for a base,
Oh,
and then get
yeah.
back to us, and with a number.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hold on one second, Wes.
I just, I'm not sure, I've never heard it come up before council in terms of paving over construction. I know that we had significant construction on Court Street and significant construction there in terms of, but as a council, we've not discussed that paving over construction. So, I think we'd like to have that opportunity, I think, around the table here. The budget's not close yet to consider what we're doing. I mean, I think that we've historically, I think appropriately so, not let the council table sort of make the priorities, because everybody, we kind of rely on the professionals for that component of it. But in terms of the larger part of the situation that you described, it seems to me if it keeps on getting deferred, we're not really making the policy decision on that. So I think that ought to be something that we be involved in.
Bring us the list.
Have enough information, City Manager? to-
Yes.
Great. Counselor Cheney, were you finished with council comments? Your
I am.
council comments? You are, okay.
Thank you.
Any other council comments? How about liaison reports?
I have one quick one. As far as liaison, Lakes Region Public Access had their annual meeting. I don't believe that with their presentation, I am coming to realize what a valuable asset it is to the communities that participate. They're going to have, like every other organization, some challenges financially, but I think they're well-prepared to address that, and they'd like to get other communities participating also in with them on that. So that was their annual meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, could I apologize. I'm listening to the radio this morning out of Manchester, and I was proud. Our police chief was there being interviewed by whoever, the guy that runs the morning program. And he, at some point, said to Chief Canfield, how many men are you down? And our chief said, we're down 2. And the announcer, whose name escapes me at the moment, goes, "You're kidding," in that fashion. And I feel compelled to say, the police and fire in this city are one or two down, dating back a number of years. Whenever we're around us, we're down significant numbers. The New Hampshire State Police are down 70 or 80 positions. It never happened before in history. I may have said this before when I was a young street cop. If they posted a state police job at 8 in the morning, it was gone at 4 in the afternoon. Now they're down 70 people. Which, by the way, affects things like Motorcycle Weekend. And I'm just damn proud of both our police and our fire for the outstanding, I don't mean to leave other departments out, but, you know, he was noticeably shocked at how low our needs were. Thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, the fire department is not down anybody, are they?
I think they're down one.
They were down one, but I think they were down two, they just filled one, and they believe they have another one in the pipeline, so it's close.
Both of the positions at the PD have candidates.
Yep.
They're just going through the process.
Council Lippman, did you have something?
Yes. I'm talking to the manager informally, just for next meeting when we consider the budget. We may be in a position to pass a budget earlier because the major components of the budget are now agreed upon by the House and the Senate. And there's some pieces of that budget that are more favorable and some that are less favorable, and just sort of sorting that out between now and the next meeting so that we can, I think we should be prepared to take action earlier rather than later.
That's very good, very good.
I would agree. Okay. Moving on to item number 19, which is citizens' request to comment on current agenda items. See Mr. Wood, stepping right up.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, I'm Patrick Wood. I'm here representing the Mayor's Committee on Human Relations for the City of Laconia. Talking specifically this evening about the pride flag, and I have a few words I would like to say. Tony Dungy, the former head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, and his wife, Lauren, adopted their son, Jordan, when he was an infant. Shortly after bringing Jordan home, they learned that because of a missing gene, Jordan could not feel pain, which resulted in burned fingers and hands when he took cookies out of the hot oven. In his book, Quiet Strength, Coach Dungy described the difference Jordan has made in him. Watching the impact of that single missing gene reminds me how intricately each of us has been designed and created. I am continuously amazed at the wonders of God's most complex creation, people. The line between what we consider normal and what we consider special is so fine. So many varied, delicate pieces contribute to the balance and beauty of the whole picture. Coach Dungy has, in these few words, captured the essence of what we should all strive to do: to recognize the unique and wonderful nature of each person around us, and just as we try to live up to our potential, to remember that we should want everyone else to have the opportunity to do the same, to be the best they can be. But when we forget that uniqueness, when we think everyone should be like us, or that other people should act the way we feel they should, then we tend to treat those other people as less important, less worthy of our time, less worthy of our respect, less worthy of our compassion. This, my friends, is the beginning of the slide down the very slippery slope of prejudice and bigotry. As hard as it may be for me to appreciate the special attributes of tofu or eggplant, I know that for many people, including my wife, I am the crazy one. When I was in college, I met a young man on the sidewalk handing out material supporting communist positions. We talked for a while, and I told him that I could not support his position, but that I would always do what I could to make sure he had the freedom to express his opinions. His views were not mine, but that did not make him any less of a person, nor any less entitled to the same freedoms I had. Excuse me. When we talk about flying the pride flag, we are not talking about making people change who they are. Instead, we are talking about recognizing the fact that a person's sexual orientation does not change the human nature of that person, and that prejudice and bigotry that keeps that person from reaching their full potential should not and will not be part of the culture of the city of Laconia. Reverend William Sloan Coffin Jr., when he was a pastor at Riverside Church in New York City, told of talking with a Vietnam veteran who told him that the Army gave him a medal for killing a man, but kicked him out of the Army for loving one. This is just one example of the prejudice that LGBTQ+ people have faced for way too long. In the early 2000s, after September 11, 2001, the military and the US government realized it needed more people who were fluent in Arabic. So the Defense Language Institute contracted to send hundreds of young people to intensive training to learn Arabic at the cost of millions of dollars. Then in 2003, the military decided that if you were homosexual, you could not serve as a translator, and almost 60 of these highly trained and competent individuals were fired and told they were no longer fit to serve in the military. How many of those young people could have been in positions as translators that might have saved lives? We shall never know. My oldest son, Matt, a 21-and-a-half-year US Army veteran, has assured me that having gays or lesbians in the US Army did not have any negative impact while he was serving. His Army was more concerned about soldiers doing the job for which they were trained, making sure each individual lived up to their potential. This is what flying this flag means to me. It provides proof that we here in Laconia believe that everyone should have the opportunity to reach their full potential as a human being. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Patrick.
Anyone else like to speak to current agenda items? Seeing none, move on to agenda item 20, which is the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet tonight is financial and operational trends for this month. The first thing I'll point out is, as you'll see, our current construction numbers are down under half of what they were 2 years at this point, and a little under half of what they were last year at this point. So it's early still in the building season, but we are seeing a decrease right now. Fire and EMS calls were up this month. Public assistance data, we've done well. It kind of stabilized and went down a little bit for May to just under $7,000. And factor in the reimbursements that we get, we're still under the budget of $40,000 that we anticipated for city relief for this year. Now, that there's some anticipation that we're going to see an increase come through, but it hasn't necessarily happened yet. Next page, the police report. Those numbers are pretty significantly increased from last year, as you can see there, and all their numbers are listed. I'm not going to go through each one, obviously. Our property tax collection is right on line where we should be for collecting our percentage for property taxes so far. Motor vehicle registration, a little under where we normally do at this point. It's funny we brought this up as a conversation started tonight. We were trending right on pace pace and a little bit ahead of where we were last year. We'll get some real-time numbers based on our conversations tonight to where we stand mid-June. Normally, we wouldn't get it till the end of the month. We'll do some mid-June numbers and be able to make some adjustments as needed, based on what we're seeing for this year and if we're gonna trend that out to next year as well. Overtime numbers are there. They have stabilized a little bit, especially in the police and fire. They had a little bit of an increase. You see each month where there's some vacancies, you see some more increases. Next page, the parks and recreation uses. Pretty standard where they are right now. Nothing crazy there. No grievances. Impact fees are listed. And again, as we talked about, I need to go down and do this a little bit more in depth, but as I did say before, some of these impact fees are either used in next year's fiscal year budget, or they've been earmarked for, not all of them, but some of them have been earmarked in the different departments for projects that they're waiting to get this up a little bit and then spend that on. I will work on actually breaking that down. I've been meaning to. I'll get that a little bit more broken down for you, so you can see that it's not just sitting there as a piggy bank and that they're looking to spend. Our expendable trust balance there, one of the things you'll notice in here is there was a pretty significant decrease in what you'll see as the non-capital reserve account. These numbers have always shown exactly what is in the account, but it hasn't taken into effect anything that's been earmarked by the council to be spent. These numbers are more reflective of exactly what is still available to use as opposed to just what's in there and has been earmarked. Our code statistics are there. We're still working on refining this. It's been a few months, obviously, but we're still working on refining it. One thing I just want to make a comment on, seeing as we're talking about code, to Councilor Haynes' point. One thing that I've been saying all along is that we're trying to shorten the time frame between a violation and the legal action in the court. What I've been enlightened to through our law offices, and now through our planning department is working on this, is that we've been adding an extra step all along, and actually we can shorten that time frame up exactly how we stand right now. So our attorneys are coming in with all of our code enforcement type people, including at the fire department who do code enforcement, and they're training them on getting to that next step without needing to add in the steps that we've been adding. So we've been tripping ourselves up all this time, and I think we've got that straightened out. So when there's violations, we can get that moved a little faster, and that training's gonna be happening. We haven't set the date yet. Our goal is by the end of the month, beginning of July, to get that done. And so I think we're making some strides in trying to fix some of these problems, so we don't have to keep having these repeat contacts. Boat taxes, not really where we would expect them to be right now, but they're just under where we usually are at this point of the year. Our general fund revenue and expenditures look good. And our EMS billing, comparing it to last year totals, which when you look at last year, some of those additions are stuff that trickled in over the year. But we're within where we would expect to be at this point. We're not gonna go above where we are, but certainly not below. With some changes to Medicaid, Council Lippman had fire department run some numbers, estimating out that we'll probably see somewhere around a $40,000 increase if everything stays normal, doesn't change, for FY24, and upwards of $75,000 in FY25, just based on the Medicaid change numbers. And that was a quick overview of it, but they're working on breaking those down even a little bit further, and certainly good things that came out of the state through the Medicaid numbers, and it helps. It's going to help the fire department, EMS as well. That's all I have, unless there's any questions for me.
Any questions to the city manager on the financial and operational trends report? Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 21, which is our new business. 21A, approval of resolution 2023-16 relative to fiscal year 2023 year-end carry forwards. Glenn, would you walk us through that just briefly?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. So each year at about this this time we take a look at the monies primarily in the capital and current carry-forward accounts to see what needs to be carried into the next year to complete projects or to instigate projects. And the reason I put it that way, of course, is like, especially, and I'll pick on West here, by the time the budget is approved in July, then we go out to bid for the project and such. Often those projects that are approved in July can't get started until the following spring, and so we need to roll that money over. We've worked with all of the departments to get that going for this year, and I'm proposing a total of 40 carry forwards. Something new that you'll see this year is that we've developed in the past couple of years a pattern of moving funds, carrying forwards monies from year to year to year. Well, of course, we look at that and we think that's not really a carry forward, that's a reserve. So what this budget calls for is carrying forward certain accounts, and I'll use this as an account for litigation. We carry it forward into the next year with the intent of moving that into reserve so that a year from now, you're not moving that money forward again. So we have a couple of those accounts here. Total of 40 carry forwards, 31 for the general fund, 8 for the sanitary sewer, and 1 for the internal service fund.
So the total dollar amount coming forward is how much? Do you have that?
Well, yeah, I have, I apologize, Mr. Mayor, I have it totaled it by fund,
Yeah.
because that's why
okay.
my finance brain
And
thinks.
that's probably far more important than the total. I should give
Okay.
it, because it has specificity to
There
it.
we go. So, $2 million in projects within the general fund, $1.6 million in projects in the sanitary sewer fund,
Mhm.
and $15,000 within the internal service fund,
Okay.
which I can tell you is the upfit cost for a truck that has been paid for, but hasn't arrived. When it arrives, of course, we need to upfit the truck.
Counselor Susie.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two questions, really. Page 2, and you've got 2 items there, Hilliard Road Bridge and Highland Street Bridge. It almost looks like the description of each has been a cut and paste that was the same.
It has been the same, and I apologize for that. The intent is to do the same, but of course, the second one should be Highland and not Hilliard.
Okay,
So apologize for that.
okay. Thank you. And then the other question is more, maybe not, how long does something stay in reserve? Before, if it's not spent, we pull it back and apply it back to our, whatever.
It stays in reserve until you take it out. I don't mean to be facetious.
I'm
but-
not
and
trying to be.
There's a couple different things there, and you'll see actually in the FY '24 budget, there's certain money coming out of the non-capital reserve that are projects that have been completed. They came in under budget, we know, but of course, they're still committed to that project until council says the funds are no longer committed to the budget. So we've got a proposal to take those out. Other projects, reserves, I think are intended to be there indefinitely. I'm thinking of health insurance stabilization. You never know when that is going to spike, and this is intended to be there. You know, it's up to this body, but I think the intent was to just kind of leave that there in the eventuality that we might need it. That said, of course, the year reserves and the money can be taken out at any time.
I think your first answer to the question, if things stay in reserve until you think they're done, or it's been there so long, it's time to come back out.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And those discussions take place during the budget process.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
So there's nothing in here that's a project you don't think will eventually proceed here, correct? Using the 2 that Council Susi raised, you expect those to come forward, correct?
Everything in here is listed as a not-to-exceed amount. So,
That's not my question.
Yes,
Oh.
yes. We met with each of the department heads that this affects. And as you see, we carry forward a lot less than we did last year for that exact purpose, to make sure that it wasn't just It's either the potential for a reserve, because we need it for that reason, or a project that's intended. So yes, to answer your question, that is the plan, as best as we got from the department heads.
Any follow-up on that?
Well, I guess, just in terms of if that changes during the year, then you would come to us to make that
Correct,
adjustment.
yes.
I'll say, this might be getting too much into the weeds, but with the carry forward resolution is separate from the budget resolution. So this money has to stay within these carry forwards until it comes back to council if we wanted to move it in any position. So,
Practically, historically, there's been times where we've said, you know what, that we've been carrying this for a number of times, we're not gonna do it. Let's redirect it.
that's correct.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Right now, a series of 3 motions. First one, looking to move to waive a reading of this resolution in its entirety and to read by title only, so made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. 5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next, looking to move a first reading of Resolution 2023-16 relative to the fiscal year 2023 year-end carry forwards. So made by Counselor Felch, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. And finally, on this agenda item, looking to move to schedule a public hearing on June 26, 2023, during the regular city council meeting to gather public input prior to any action being taken. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Item number 21B, which is request to sign the unlicensed dog warrant for 2023. Per RSA 466:14, as stated below, the attached list of unlicensed dogs must be distributed to the city council no later than June 20th, 2023, for approval within 20 days to permit the issuance of civil forfeiture penalties allowed under RSA 466:13. It's the request of the city clerk that the signing of the warrant be placed on the agenda of the regular city council meeting on June 12th, which it is, after which time the Laconia Police Department will begin arresting dogs. Will begin the process of issuing civil forfeiture fines to those individuals listed. The list has been provided in your packet. No, it's not. No. I've got the list right here, not public, so
Is there any of us on here?
it's non-public, but you're clear. All right. So staff would be, the city clerk would be recommending the approval of the warrant as presented. Any questions on that right now, Counselor Susie? No? All right, right now, be looking to move to issue the warrant as presented for the 2023 unlicensed dogs, so made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Felch. Any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Item number 21C, which is the result of some discussions that I and Kirk have been involved in with Celebrate Laconia. They are proposing a permanent over-the-street lights in downtown Laconia to honor Laconia's history and past by bringing the tradition of lighting and holiday decorations back to the city. The proposal will request fundraising from local businesses, companies, and individuals, as well as city funding for support and maintenance. A phased approach is being suggested beginning on Canal Street to connect Main Street to Beacon Street East. Future phases will concentrate on Mill Plaza and the alleyway, Hanover Street, and finally Main Street as the grand finale. Funding requested from the city by Celebrate Laconia at this time is $16,000. Celebrate Laconia is graciously willing to donate $7,000 to the first phase of the project on Canal Street. They will also contribute $1,000 to the city each year for maintenance and repairs, and creating fundraising program to raise funds for completing Canal Street phase. Money raised from the Celebrate Laconia Lights Festival will contribute to this project as well as Celebrate Laconia has committed to planning for future phases and fundraising. I will say in my discussions with Warren Clement, who's with us tonight, the idea of lighting up Canal Street is really reminiscent of some of the urban neighborhoods in larger cities during festival times. And, you know, if we think about how do we continue to market our downtown area, these lights are really sort of an exciting aspect of it, because when the lights are on, something's going on, right? It's like the party lights have been drawn across the street, and I think it's terrific and draws people's attention if you're driving down Main Street and maybe take a look at the right onto Canal Street and see the lights on and something's going on. Certainly in the future, we've got a number of other opportunities around the city, whether it's the alley between the Pemmico building and I can't think of the name of the other building, but I think it accentuates what's going on downtown. So I, for one, in these discussions have been really excited about what Celebrate Laconia has proposed, how they're willing to support this and contribute it, and I'm glad it's on the agenda. Councilor Sousa, do you have a question?
My question is a comment. I'd like to thank Mr. Clement, yourself, and anybody else at City of Laconia on the Lights Committee. I think it's awesome. I'm waiting for this for a long time, and I just wish it would be more aggressive to do all of it more sooner than wait.
Now he says that. Anyway, yeah. All right, so, right now, we have in front of us, Kirk, as far as funding, in the spirit of Mayor Engler, it's a great suggestion, but how are you paying for it? So maybe we should touch on that before we get to the
So
motion.
what I thought we'd do is one of the things that wasn't necessarily earmarked, but I knew that I was gonna answer the question this way, in the carry forwards, is there's $6,200 in a carry forward for a city appearance, with nothing planned on. That's why that one I knew I was gonna say tonight. And then the rest of it, the other 9,800, I still have plenty of money in the city manager contingency line that I can use out of that without a
Really?
problem.
Did you just say that in public?
I
You
have
have plenty of
I have
money in the
$9,800
contingency
in
line.
that
Did you really
line.
say that?
Because I've been frugal all year.
Live, you know.
Because I've been frugal.
All right, fair enough, fair enough, okay. So if we can move to the motion, looking to move, a motion to move to approve that the city allocate the amount of $16,000 towards the first phase of the Celebrate Laconia Lighting and Holiday Decoration Project as presented. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Counselor Littman?
Just on the way that, when do we anticipate making this expenditure, and can we just fold it into a budget line item and deal with it that way?
Yeah, I just planned on I haven't talked to Glenn about it. I just planned on encumbering it, and so it would be all set for the end of this fiscal year.
So it's not gonna go in the next budget, it's this year, it's this budget?
Right, that's how I planned on it, was end of this
Is
year.
that your question, Counselor Littman?
It's just, we're not gonna spend it between now and June 30th, why not just put it in the budget going forward? Because it sounds like also that this is the first of future installments.
I think it's gonna be the 17 for this year, right? And then a roll forward and be another 17 next year.
Yeah, but today's June
12th.
12th.
Right.
We're not gonna spend it in
No,
28
but it's
days.
gonna probably put it into one of those things we just did, a contingency or something.
I guess why, I don't know, I'm not gonna make a big issue of it, it just seems like where we're at, and that we're gonna continue to do stuff that we just,
Well, we can afford it this year, from what I hear.
Yes.
You're right, the work may not commence, maybe even the check doesn't even get cut, but maybe it does. And then next year, as the project continues, we'll be able to see the first phase of it done, and then I'm sure a request will come through for assistance on the second phase.
Somebody's right.
I mean,
I'm not gonna hold it up, I'm just
Okay.
suggesting I would do it differently, that's all.
I understand what Henry's saying, but if we do put it in this year's budget, is there any way we can look at money in our next budget, what we're working on right now for the next phase?
We should be,
Now's the time to think about that.
okay? Yeah, fair question.
Can make a note.
More marching orders. Okay, We have the motion on the table. It's been seconded. This is the question period, discussion period. Any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please indicate by raising your hands. It's 5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I speak on this?
No.
Come right up. Get a close-up, Katie.
First, thank you. I appreciate the vote. It's long overdue. Unfortunately, I delivered another proposal today, but going from there. Celebrate Laconia will continue to put $7,000 in. The good news is we've also got some people on Canal Street that are gonna help out. We wanna get this done before Pumpkin Fest, because there's stuff going on in Pumpkin Fest, and that'll help. The $7,000 we have will move into the alleyway. So we're gonna try to get that done at the same time. That's actually dangerous. People coming out of the theater are walking into a black hole. So,
It's dangerous because of icing and water and things
oh
like
yeah,
that.
and yeah, you could fall down.
Sometimes it's not.
Old people like me, not you, Mr. Mayor, you bounce right up. But
I
we
didn't
will
want
do
to leave
that.
the
We have to
people
get
believe it's
permission.
dangerous because of people. I don't see
We have to
anybody
get
there.
permission from the property owners, because we're gonna have to go up with some stanchions or something, which we'll check out with all of the areas that may need it, but, that's gonna allow us, and it's New Centrum that's gonna do it, that does your Christmas lights in the park and everything, so, done by professionals. So, thank you very much, we appreciate it, and maybe we'll get 2 steps done this rather than 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren.
Thank you, Warren. Moving on to item number 22, under unfinished business, it's 22A, Resolution 2023-13, relative to the acceptance of an award in the amount of $30,683.28 from the Department of Safety Homeland Security Grant Program for the purchase of body armor. Anything you would like to speak to on that, Kirk, right now?
No, I think just that this is it's a no match to the grant. We've been able to receive a few other grants similar to this, that work with our LPD officers working through the Belknap County, Special Operations Group as well. That's been very successful doing that, and, I would assume he would have been here tonight, but I'm guessing he got tied up with Motorcycle Week,
Sure.
so.
Thank you very much. We have a series of 3 motions here. The first one is to move to waive a reading of Resolution 2023-13 in its entirety to read by title only. Counselor Cheney, motions for that, seconded by Counselor Haynes. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. 5 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. Next, looking for a motion to move a second reading of Resolution 2023-13 relative to acceptance of an award in the amount of $30,683.28 from the Homeland Security Search and Rescue Equipment Grant Program for the purchase of body armor. So made by Counselor Cheney, seconded by Counselor Felch. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. That's 5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. And finally, looking to move, a motion to move to approve Resolution 2023-13 relative to acceptance of an award in the amount of $30,683.28 from the Homeland Security Search and Rescue Equipment Grant Program for the purchase of body armor, and to authorize the city manager to sign all documents related to this grant. So made by Counselor Susie, seconded by Counselor Cheney. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by raising your hands. That's 5 votes in the affirmative, and that motion passes. Pass that along to the city clerk, please.
Oh, would you pass that on, please?
So, moving on to item number 22B, which is agenda item 22B, discussion regarding implementation of a City of Laconia flag policy. Certainly, this item is on the table and would require a motion to take it off the table before a discussion ensues.
So moved.
Counselor Felch,
Seconded.
seconded by Counselor Haynes. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion coming off the table, please indicate by raising your hands. That's, those opposed? 3 votes in the affirmative, that motion passes. The item is off the table.
If I may, Mr. Mayor.
Please do.
I asked the manager to put this on because I want this flag policy referred also to the Governmental Operations Committee to get this hammered out. I have one of the drafts. You can see I've been working on it. It needs this council to feel comfortable. And I don't think we can if the committee doesn't spend some time on this and make sure we've dotted every I and crossed every T. That's why I asked it to be put on the agenda. I want to move it forward and get it done.
So go right ahead, Counselor Susie.
I've talked to Council Cheney about this, and I'll be talking to the city manager tomorrow about scheduling a government's committee meeting on this and the earlier section with the Airbnbs as soon as possible, probably, more likely, probably next Monday.
If I can, my purpose in asking it to come off the table is to ask the mayor to refer it to Government Operations Committee.
I'd like to refer it to Government Operations Committee
Thank
post
you.
haste.
Thank you. And I can't promise you how this will end up. All I can promise you is we need to work on it and get it done.
I appreciate you taking the leadership role in that and working on it. I think it does need to be worked on. I don't know where it's going either, but I think it needs to be addressed. Counselor Felch.
So I just want to say that we need the policy. It's not about any certain flag or whatever. We're still going to get people asking to hang flags, whether we have a policy or not. So we need the guidelines of a policy as to what to do.
Thank you, Counselor Felch. Counselor Littman.
I would like to sort of package this, my statement in the context of what Mr. Wood had to say tonight. I agree with every single point that he outlined. I, though, disagree with the final conclusion that deviating from the current situation will be a positive thing for the city. I encourage people to express how they feel about it. I encourage people to make how they feel and what they want to be known. I just think that we're asking for a difficult situation upon us to manage that. I don't think in the end, and I may be wrong, I'll admit this up front, but will divide the city more than it will bring the city together. And that's the reason I did not vote to bring it off the table, because I feel in as much as everything that Mr. Wood had to say tonight is accurate, true, and a statement I would agree with. I think there are other people in the city who would see it differently, and I think that right now we don't have an issue. We're creating an issue to manage that I think is a distraction and a divisionary matter. So I understood I may be in the minority with that opinion, but I just want to be clear that I supported everything that Mr. Wood said. All the examples he provided, I wouldn't disagree with any of them. I guess the issue is whether putting the flag on the city hall is going to be something that is a divisionary manner in the city or not.
Well, I think if you take a look at the draft flag policy, it's not on City Hall.
No.
And I think that is I think there are a number of people in the city would like to see a flag hung from City Hall. I think the hospital wanted to have a flag hung from City Hall during the beginning of the pandemic, and we did so. So, hold on. And so this is not something hung from City Hall per se. It will be a city flagpole, yes, but it's not from City Hall. And I think I'm glad we're going to control as much as we can control here, because at some point there may be future councils that a request will come in from a very distasteful segment of society that wants to hang something, and if we don't have a policy, I think that council will find itself in a predicament as well. So being able to control this potential battlefield over this idea, I think is preferable than having it hoisted upon ourselves as a city.
I'd just like to clarify, my position wasn't just about it's being a city-sponsored flagpole is my issue, whether it's on the building in the parking lot or anywhere else. I think it's gonna be a more divisive issue than anyone around this table who has a contrary opinion would think.
Well,
And that's,
Mr.
I
Mayor,
mean, we
can
could.
I-
I'm
we could
recognizing
go
I
on
could
this
be
all
wrong,
night,
yeah.
but that's okay. I wholeheartedly disagree, and I think this is, but nonetheless, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want Henry, Councilor Lippman to understand, my motion is intended to get us to look at this and work through those things. I don't support a flag on City Hall. I don't support a pride flag or a communist flag or you name it, I'm not for it. I don't want to see Easter seals on our building. I got to be honest with you and tell you, we have a Memorial Day and we have a Veterans Day, but we have a Pride Month. That hurts me, you know? Not because there shouldn't be a Pride Month, but because, you know, there's that separation or differentiation, I guess is what I'm saying. I want this worked through, and I hope, Henry, you come to the meetings so that we can talk about all your concerns and get this done right. I think the mayor's absolutely right. Sooner or later, some council is gonna have to deal with this in a very unpleasant atmosphere. Let's try and give them an advantage.
Counselor Felch.
So, just to get this straight, this agenda item right now is about a policy. It's not about a flag. Our next agenda item is about a flag. So, I agree, this should move forward, go to Operations Committee, and get a policy for the city, so when somebody asks to hang a flag, we have a policy.
Yeah.
That's all this agenda item is. Our next item is what you guys are all talking about now.
Any opposition to this item being assigned to Subcommittee for Work?
No.
Seeing none,
I'll vote against.
okay?
Mr. Mayor, may I
Record
have
roulette.
a-
Oh,
may
well,
I have-
sure.
may I have an opportunity? I honestly, I had an extensive conversation with you, and I did considerable research on this, and Councilman Lippman and I had a long discussion about this also. And, you know, all the things that I researched were the lawsuits, the problems that it created, okay? And I came to the conclusion a couple of weeks ago, I'm totally against that, only because I don't think we need this. We don't need the aggravation. And then I had an opportunity to come across some other things that other cities have adopted, and I've got one here in front of me, and I won't read it, but, I could read it, but I won't, but, I think we need to just look at where we want to go. And I support Councilor Cheney in looking at a policy. However, having said that, okay, I think we're gonna find, you know, there's gonna be a lot of weeds that we're gonna have to, and I don't think it's a meeting that's gonna be 15 minutes and here it is and there it goes, the whole works. And I think if we look at it, we can look at the various problems that other communities have had and make sure that we don't, if that's where we wanna go, that we don't have the same problems.
That's all I want to do.
That's why I voted to take it off the
And I would
table.
only ask Counselor Susie to notify every member of the council about what date and time, so that if you're free, you can join us.
You know, lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit.
I know.
But if we don't have a policy, then we leave ourselves open to other situations. Thank you, Mayor.
It's in the committee. Moving on to agenda item number 22C, which is displaying a pride flag.
Just one question. Should we table the last one since it's going to committee?
I don't know if it gets tabled or not when it goes to
I
committee.
didn't
I think it
intend to
stays out.
table it.
Or it just comes back,
We took it off.
committee's done with
That
it?
was
You
already
need
on
to
the table.
report
Off the
back.
table, it stays there.
It was on and taken off.
Eric, can I backtrack for,
Yeah, it's now
Just
off.
can I backtrack for about 5 seconds?
Yeah.
If we're gonna talk about flying flags, one of my pet gripes is, can we get a City of Laconia flag and fly that? Other than, I guess there's a flag in your office?
You're looking at me.
No, no,
It might be,
I've been
I think
told-
I have one
I've
behind me.
been told there's a flag in the mayor's office,
Okay.
and,
There may very well be, I know there's
and,
American
but I'd like to
flags.
see, let's do that.
So, let me
I think we can get
second
behind that.
that. We should have a city flag flying, but the other thing we should have flying that's not flying in the city of Laconia is a POW flag. And even in Veterans Square, in Veterans Park, there definitely should be a POW flag there.
So I think those are suggestions for the work on the subcommittee.
That's why I asked that it go to the committee, Mr. Mayor.
On the last item.
Thank you, Mr.
Is that on the table or is that off the table?
Not, it's off the table, it remains off the table, it's in your committee.
No, the last item.
Oh,
The last item tonight? No, we're just displaying a pride flag at City Hall?
Right.
No, I think it would just, it's not on the table.
Okay.
So, anyway, Councilor Felch has requested that the council consider allowing a pride flag to be displayed at City Hall for Pride Month. Pride Month is celebrated each year in the month of June. So I'll let you lead the conversation on that, Councilor Felch.
Yeah, I mean, I would motion to hang a flag, pride flag. My suggestion would be over in Veterans Square in front of the church on that flagpole. So it's not right here at City Hall, but it's represented by the city.
Would you like that flown prior to a flag policy coming into place?
Yes. We did it last year. We had no feedback. I don't think we had any negative feedback. I heard lots of positive feedback, actually.
Quick question, wasn't it a banner, not a flag?
No, it was a flag that was hung on the building.
Okay.
On this building.
Yes. And I
I've
don't
heard
think
plenty of
we,
feedback from my wife.
I don't recall any major negative feedback. And I had lots of positive feedback thanking the city for hanging it flag.
Is the flag still in the possession of the city?
I don't know, but my guess is the Human Relations Commission would have it if not.
Okay. Wes, can you let us know?
Yeah, I'll check, but if you're gonna fly the pride flag on a flagpole with a US flag, the flag's gotta be smaller than the US flag.
Correct.
Right.
So that one wasn't. So we're gonna need to get a different.
Well, the one over there is a pretty big flag. I'm talking in
I'll-
front of the
yeah,
church.
I'll have to check. I don't remember. I thought I returned it back up to here after it was.
And I'm pretty sure Human Relations would purchase another one if we need to.
Okay.
I'll purchase it if we need to.
Anyone like to speak? Well, I guess we can, there's a motion here, a proposed motion. The discussion can take place subsequent to the motion going on the table. So we're looking for a motion. Allow the pride flag to be displayed at Laconia City Hall for the month of June 2023 to commemorate the Pride Month. So made by Councilor Felch.
With an amendment that it be on the flagpole over in Veterans Square.
Okay, so it's not at Laconia City Hall, it's on the flagpole at the Rotary at City Hall.
Correct.
Is that, Mayor, is that considered Veteran Square?
I don't think it's veterans. I think that sits above an urn that was
Yeah, it's the
fire departments
Rotary,
at one
yeah.
point there, right? It was a water tower, or water tank in there.
We'll call it Railroad Square.
Okay. Sorry.
But you know what I mean, in front of the church by the bank,
It's the Rotary.
the Rotary, correct.
Well, there's a first. Is there a second? No second, so that motion fails. I do think, going back to agenda item number 14. No.
14, 6? You're talking about 6?
Six. I would like to offer a proclamation. Which is the City of Laconia proclamation for Pride Month. Whereas the city of Laconia recognizes and proclaims the month of June 2023 as LGBTQ Pride Month throughout the city of Laconia. Whereas Laconia joins the annual observance as delineated in the Administrative Office of the United States Courts to observe LGBTQ Pride Month with a pride flag and to support the rights of all citizens to experience equality and freedom from discrimination. Whereas the rainbow flag is widely recognized as a symbol of pride, inclusion, and support for social movements that advocate for LGBTQ people in society. And whereas all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, LGBTQ individuals have immeasurable impact on the cultural, civic, and economic success of our community. And whereas the members of the LGBTQ community have contributed to our community, help make Laconia better, richer, and stronger. And whereas Laconia is committed to supporting visibility, dignity, and equality for LGBTQ people in our diverse community. And whereas, while society at large is increasingly supports LGBTQ, it is essential to acknowledge that the need for education and awareness remains vital to end discrimination and prejudice. And whereas this nation was founded on the principle that every individual has infinite dignity and worth, and the city of Laconia calls upon the people of this city to embrace this principle and work to eliminate prejudice everywhere it exists. And whereas celebrating Pride Month influences awareness and provides support and advocacy for Laconia's LGBTQ community, and is an opportunity to act and engage in dialogue to strengthen alliances, build acceptance, and advance equal rights. Now therefore be it resolved that the city of Laconia hereby proclaims the month of June 2023 as Pride Month in support of the LGBTQ community. And be it further resolved that the rainbow flag, wherever it's raised, recognizes all residents whose influential and lasting contributions to our neighborhoods make Laconia a vibrant community in which to live, work, and visit. That is a proclamation that I drafted up, and I certainly would like you all to consider it and support it.
I support it insofar as it does not include putting a flag on city flagpole, because I don't feel that that is encouraging community. I think I encourage people in the community to put up flags if they so choose. I could support everything in that motion except that part, because I do think that it's going to be a divisive issue, and one that future councils will have to manage. And I appreciate my colleagues are willing to tackle the policy outside of this meeting, but I certainly think every sentiment that you expressed in there is, there should not be discrimination. There should be, the willingness and to support our residents in the community.
Thank you, Councilor Lippman. I also think that the idea of the dialogue that's mentioned in here will also take place in the committee's work. And that's critically important,
Yeah,
to
so
find a policy, if we have a policy.
I support that we should have a proclamation acknowledging that time.
Thank you. Councilor Susie.
I have a problem with the proclamation because you're talking about full month. We have, I think, a great holiday in Martin Luther King Day that brings everybody together, no matter what race, creed, sexual orientation, or anything else there is, okay? So, I mean, I look upon that holiday that does the same thing what you're saying here, okay? At the same time, as Councilor Cheney mentioned, we have a Memorial Day, we have a Veterans Day. A lot of those have been almost like not really observed as much, okay? Not much attention and celebration, or whatever you want to call it. And I think I agree with everything in there, like Councilor Lippman said, but I have a hard time bringing myself to make a month-long celebration of this.
And for practical purposes, it's already the 12th of them.
It's already done.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think there are different circumstances. I'm not trying to tell you to feel otherwise, but
I think certainly in regards to some of those days, there were days that were, unfortunately, I think there's there's plenty of reason to have Armed Forces Month. There's Veterans Month, President's Month. You know, this is long before our time with these dates where these holidays were set, and it is particularly unfortunate that the day is not long enough, and many of these days have are to commemorate the start and the end of summer.
I understand.
You know, I think, you know, labor should have a month as well, but nonetheless, there are days right now, we could certainly work on changing that, but the idea, I didn't set Pride Month. I didn't determine that. That was determined by forces outside of this city. But, and consistent with that, the month seemed to be appropriate, from my perspective, that's all. And that's not to diminish the impact that Dr. King has had, or anyone else, quite frankly.
So if there's a motion on it that excludes the flag component because we don't have a policy as well, then I would make that.
Just a quick comment. My wife comes from Natick, Massachusetts. If anybody's familiar, the marathon goes through Natick. They went through the same problem. And there's not a street that you go down in Natick that you can see the pride flag, but it's not at City Hall. And the council decided that that was not appropriate because it was on city property. So,
I would encourage people
Councilor,
who want
your point's well taken.
Almost like an endorsement of.
Well, that's why I just say leave it off the city.
Well, I just want to point out, it's not a celebration. It's just showing support. It's not a holiday, it's recognition.
Parades around, right? And
It's a different, and it's federally recognized.
put on your house, it's fine.
So can we,
I'm not gonna put the proclamation on your house. It's just a proclamation, okay? I will if you like. I would like to have some support on this. I don't want it to be a divisive issue on this, but hopefully
You've
it's.
got my full support.
I support that.
I support the proclamation.
Thank you. And I trust your work and Councilor Cheney's work in your committee as well. All right, thank you. I'd like to adjourn the city council meeting at 8:40 PM this evening.
thank you.
You're going. I can't be long. I don't either, can I? You get up at 3:30.
I don't have all of the issues that